You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. This call is from
Pat Hoffman.
an inmate at Airway Heights Correction Center. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Mr. Hoffman. Good to hear from you.
Yes. Yes, just called to contact you and let you know that I received the letters that you sent last night, and I thank you very much for recopying my letter that I wrote to Aaron, and for the additional information from your website about the ones that are continue to. Oh, shut up.
I hear him talking in the background. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it seems like they want to try every time that I'm on the phone to try to drag out a call or something 5 times as long as it is necessary. You can't do this. You've got to do it this way, and then you can't walk out with your coat on. You've got to put your coat on in the foyer, and this and that. And come on, this is not grade school. These are grown men. Leave well enough alone.
Yeah, I understand.
This is the type of thing that I've had to put up with all of these years, and these individuals that you've captured on paper about, oh, this Hoffman, he's admitted to this and admitted to that, and how he attacked his cellie in the middle of the night, and oh, what a coward move, and all of this and stuff. Never mind that I had a lawsuit against the DOC for trying to kill me and other people, and in the process, they put this man in the cell with me, and I requested to have either him or me moved, and they wouldn't move me because it wasn't necessary. It was necessary to have him in the cell and try to do to me what I did to him. The only difference is I moved faster.
Yeah. I don't think people, they don't quite get how...
Never mind the fact.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Never mind the fact that he had an assault beef after assault beef after assault beef on elderly people back then. He had 27 different assault beefs from the time he was 14 on elderly people.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to break my lawsuit by making it look like what happened. So, okay, if that's the way it is, he plans on putting hands on pipe carrier and stuff. That's a sacred thing. And if they don't like what I have to say about it, then don't listen, because they don't care anyway. They want to take what is stated out there and try to twist it around into me being some kind of a maniac. If I was what they try to portray me as, I wouldn't have lasted 32 years in the prison system. They don't understand that there are people in here that have done heinous crimes that look up to me because I've been accused of the same thing, and I walk with my head up. There are people that come in here that know that I'm Native American, and right away they come to me and make me offerings to make them medicine bags. My attorney has a medicine bag that I made from him at the beginnings. I have made and given away over 300 medicine bags to people that have come into the system and valued my understanding and my caring about them and their families and stuff. And in appreciation of that, they send me emails or what have you from time to time. It's not very often because the life out there is different than the life in here. And once you've been in here, you want to forget what's happened in here. I want the ones that do gain their freedom because they are innocent to remember it and carry on until the last one is free. And these people that attack you and I on the internet are not worth 2 dead flies. And I want them to know that.
Yeah.
And I want them to know that somewhere down the line, for their accusations and their frustrations that they've tried to pile on me and stuff, I'm going to take them to court because I am going to get free. And when I'm free, it will be because I am innocent. And when I am able to step into court and they have to come and answer for their rilings against me, which become, what is the word?
Well, it becomes evident. Slander, yes, right.
Slander,
yeah.
Yes. And that in itself is enough to take them to court. But they've committed cyber crimes, and they're committing cyber crimes with the way they're attacking you, and the way they're attacking me, and the way they've got Agnes worked up in trying to promote this paperwork to go to the courts now. After this, we're done, because I don't expect the court to do anything in my favor other than listen to what I have to say on paper. Other than that, I could care, because that's not the important issue. The important issue is that I know how to prove my innocence beyond a shadow of a doubt, and that will happen no matter what they do to me. It is in the attorney's hands already, and they know how to produce the paperwork to get the courts to grant them the public disclosure on everything that I've talked about. The FBI,
yep.
the thing that you chased down with Dr. Whitehurst and his statement there, that all coincides with the fact that they destroyed exculpatory evidence in my case. And Mr. Millard and his hatred, he can go to hell with that, and I don't care. He's made his bed, he can lie in it, and Corey can lie right along with it, because that's the way they are.
Yep.
They don't understand that if they would have chosen to do good and help me get free, that would have raised them up as well as their father's memory.
Right.
And they don't see that, because all they see is a worthless Indian that's old now, and he's trying to get free, and we're going to keep him from getting free because we're haters.
Yeah.
That's the truth of the matter.
Right.
And I don't care about haters. They can lie in their own wallow. That's fine. That's fine. I choose a different path. And when I choose a different path, I'll look back and they won't be there because they can't follow. It's just like Agnes said. She prayed to Creator, asking, why do you put us in troubled waters now? And the answer was, because your enemies can't swim.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Let me quickly share the comment you made yesterday about you've spent 32 years in prison in an environment that they could not last 5 minutes. That's very powerful, and I agree with that. And these cowards, who like to walk up to the bear, and because they think there's a huge piece of glass between them and the bear, and they make faces at the bear, and they poke at the bear, and they make fun of the bear, and they say all these disparaging comments. If that glass was removed, they wouldn't be saying the things that they're saying. And these are big time cowards. For anybody that picks upon a prisoner and wants to make his life even more hell than it already is, I got no respect for them. They're just the biggest cowards I've ever seen in my life.
Well, it's just like I said, and I say about the Department of Corrections, and I say the same thing about them. All together, if they put them in a bag all together, none of them would add up to the worth of 2 dead bodies.
There you go. There you go, yep.
Yeah. So, I don't care if they like it or not. If they don't like it, then maybe it's time that they changed and took a different path. And understood that I'm not their enemy. That's the important thing. They want to make, it's the old rule. If you have an enemy captured, everybody wants to reach out and touch that enemy because it counts cool on them. That goes back thousands and thousands of years, and it's inbred into the genetic structure of every human being. But the point of the matter is, there are those of us that understand that that's not the only thing. Maybe this enemy isn't the enemy after all. Maybe he was doing something that he was being stronger than himself in the moment that he did it in order to save somebody else's life.
Right.
And they walked away from that man. And I told you that that man, whoever was left there that night, didn't say goodbye, Vicky, I love you. Didn't say goodbye, Josh, I love you. He said goodbye, Mary, I love you. And that Mary turned out to be Mary Bush. So if he doesn't like what I have to say about that, that's fine too. But the truth is still the truth.
Mm.
Nobody else heard that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and nobody seems to care that the judge in the case stood on her front lawn and watched the whole thing unfold from start to finish and couldn't understand what was happening until everything was done and over with. And she walked over to where the EMT vehicle was parked, not 50 yards away from her front driveway. And then the next day, the tribal council wanted to have her press charges against us for murdering an officer, and she said no. They didn't do anything wrong. The first shots came from where the police had positioned themselves. That should have been enough to stop the state case, because it was enough to stop the tribal case. She would not press charges against us because we hadn't done anything wrong. End of story.
Yeah.
But no, the tribal council pays $50,000 to have us convicted, because if they don't, then we've got millions and millions of dollars lawsuit against them for police brutality, and can send them to prison for conspiracy to commit murder of a tribal member on the reservation. They would have done prison time. But they wanted to keep their coke ring going, and they wanted to take the gold off the reservation, and nobody seems to know about that except the ones that have passed away now. And those ones that imbibed and used the cocaine that they had brought on the reservation and stuff all died of some kind of cancer. The 12 that signed the paperwork to have us incarcerated are the 12 that passed away. There are still 2 alive, Mel Tenasket and Richard Swan. They refused to sign the paperwork. Why? Because they knew that the others were doing us wrong. And that's why they're still alive, because they didn't go the same path. I didn't have anything to do with their death. Creator was watching over me.
Yeah. Well, I'm praying that there's a mighty miracle happen, and that the God intervenes, and he finds a way to get you out of that hellhole very soon, and you can spend time with Agnes.
Well, the things that they're trying to do, they are not going to be done now, because they are found out. They've been told through my phone calls, because each phone call is recorded by the INI, and the INI, even though they hate my guts, they have to do their job, and their job is to see to it that things like what the Millards are trying to do to me do not happen now, because it's exposed. If they do something to me in here, it's because of the Millards and their act, and they can't do that, and they won't do that. They won't give themselves up for the Millards. The Millards will be given up as fodder so that they can continue doing what they can to other ones.
Yeah.
But for me, they can't do anything more to me because they're exposed now, and that's fine.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry. Here's my thought, Mr. Hoffman. So, Josh has made this statement that he didn't care if you shot the gun or not, that he wants you to die in prison. He considers you guilty even if you didn't pull the trigger. And then Corey said, she gave the example of if 2 bank robbers go in the bank and one robber starts shooting everybody in the bank and the other robber was there but didn't pull the trigger, that the other robber is just as guilty as the first robber. And my reply to that was, That might be true in a bank robbery, but you were at your home. You were at your home with your father. You didn't like go out and plan anything with your father. You're just living your life at your home. They came to your house at 2:30 in the morning, and the shootout ensued, and they broke their orders. They were ordered not to go to your house, and they broke their supervisor orders to even go out there. And your father ends up shot. You think your father's going to die. So I don't agree with their analogies. They're trying to twist this thing and paint it in a way that makes you look guilty, and it's just so off base. It's completely wrong.
Well, they're just like the prosecutor. They don't have the evidence before then because it doesn't exist. The truth of the matter is that all the evidence shows that what I had to say is true. That John Dick took it upon himself to create this incident for whatever purposes, whether it was to arrest or kill my dad or what have you. I have a feeling that it was something else, and that's why we're going to have the bloodstains examined on the shooter's vests that they wore. And we're going to ask the question, why did these officers and no other officers have shooter's vests? We asked in the court, were there other officers wearing shooter's vests? And we were told by the prosecution, no. That in itself tells that these two had planned earlier in the evening that they were going to have this confrontation at around that time of the morning. Why are they going out there in the middle of the night with no moon, no lights? It's away from the street lights. There's no lights around the house or anything. And they're going to go out there in the middle of the night and clear the place of drunks. Neither one of them had done that before, and the other one hasn't done it since. So why would they do it now? Because they were directed to by someone. That makes it a conspiracy. And in the greater thought of things here, Mr. Millard had his own paperwork that he was collecting against the tribal council. And he had done things that he was ashamed of. He told me that face to face in front of my dad. So we knew that he was trying to extricate himself from the tribal oversight and not be a police officer anymore because he was tired of it. He didn't like doing the crimes they wanted. And he had his own dossier and stuff, and that was never found. Now, Mr. Epperson, all conveniently after this, since we're in prison and stuff, he gets with Vicki Largent. He leaves his wife and children in Keller and goes to Vicki Largent. Something tells me that he's in deeper than what he tries to make out. That he was helping in the supply of coke to the reservation, and along with that, he had some indication that maybe Mr. Millard had something that the tribal council wanted to have not exposed.
Now let me. I got
the only way to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to clarify. Go ahead and finish your thought, but I got a question.
Their only way to cover that up and make sure that file of paperwork that Millard had didn't get exposed is to send somebody in this manner. And while she's sleeping or something, or while she's doing other things, he's looking for the paperwork until he finds it. And when it's found, then it's all payday. So that's my...
You have 60 seconds remaining.
It strikes me more...
When you said earlier he was helping smuggle cocaine onto the reservation, who is he? Is that Millard?
No, Epperson.
Oh, I see. Epperson, you believe that Epperson was helping to smuggle cocaine onto the reservation?
Epperson stated that he was a cocaine addict to Mr. Richard V. Allenbach when Allenbach interviewed him.
Okay.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
for the book on this paperwork. If you contact him, you will see what Mr. Allenbach had picked up on this. And he said to me, one of the last things that he said was that Epperson says that he's sure that you did this. Of course he's going to say that because it's convenient and that I'm in prison and probably won't ever get out because of the life without.
You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. This call is from
Pat Hoffman.
an inmate at Airway Heights Correction Center. This call will be recorded and monitored. If you wish to block any future calls of this nature, dial 7 now. To accept this call, press 5 now. To decline this call, thank you.
Yes, where was I before we got cut off?
You said that, I would like for you to clarify for people who may not know, and I maybe even myself,
Yes.
who Mr. Epperson is and what his role in this is, and why he would say you're guilty. It sounds like he wants to protect himself from wrongdoing. You were talking about how
I don't know.
Mr. Epperson was a cocaine addict in his discussion with Mr. Allenbaugh, and Mr. Epperson was possibly involved in smuggling cocaine onto the reservation?
There was a time back in 84, 85 where we were friendly because we had a mutual acquaintance friend that I'd grown up around and knew in the Keller area, and he played music in another band, and I played music in another band on the reservation, and his name was Flip Hoagland, and he was son of a white man from Republic who had married an Indian gal, and he had some Indian background with having a half-brother named Pooler, and Flip eventually we got together and started a band called the Generics, and Mr. Epperson was along with that, being a cowboy type and stuff, and wanting to be noticed with that and stuff, and we ended up going to his parents' place at Grand Coulee Dam one afternoon, and in the process there was a time when Epperson moved away from us out of our vision and stuff, and then back in, and after we left and stuff, then why we got back to Keller, and when we got back to Keller and was at the tavern there, all of a sudden all of these people are gathered around Epperson and stuff, and Flip and I are looking at each other and trying to figure out why there's this movement back and forth, like there's something being shuffled. And sure enough, that's what it was. He was dealing then, and this was before this happened. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, after our conviction and stuff, Mr. Allenbach in 2007 or thereabouts went to visit him and interview him for this book that he was writing on this material and stuff. And there was a lot of stuff that Epperson had given to him in verbiage that showed that he thought that we had killed Millard and not the other way around. That tells me that during the time that Vicki Largent went to court, this is Josh's mother. When we appeared in court the first day and the prosecution gave their first witness, which was Vicki Largent, on the stand, and she was crying and sniffling and stuff, the good little gal that didn't know why her husband got killed and stuff. He was there every day and then not and stuff. And I didn't know about Mary Bush being in this picture then. It just, things didn't add up to why, if this was Lou Millard being killed, why he wasn't saying goodbye Mary, why he was saying that instead of goodbye Vicky or goodbye whoever. When she got off the stand and we had a recess, she come over to where my sisters and I were, and my sister had my nephew, and I held him up in my arms and stuff. His name is Brian, and he was almost 2 years old then. And she come over to us and she said, I'm sorry that I had to say what I had to say, but the FBI have been around me and I have to say what they tell me to say.
Wow. Wow.
That tells me a whole lot, because in the finer add up of things over the years and stuff that I've ferreted out and stuff, it shows that they knew that Lou Millard got killed by his own people, own officers, not by us.
Yeah.
And they tried to keep everything as blanketed out and thinned out as possible. When it come to the expression of the forensics expert and stuff, they didn't examine the bullets. They didn't examine the casings. They only showed the picture that was supposedly the bullet that came out of Officer Millard and claimed that it was a 9mm. Well, anybody that knows anything about firearms and projectiles and stuff like that knows the difference between a .357 Magnum, a .38, a 9mm, and a .380. The last two are half the size of the .38 and the .357 Magnum. The bullets are shorter because there's only enough powder in them to push them through the bullet, the barrel in the gun a certain way. If the bullets are longer, it creates more friction, and the bullets cannot pass out the barrel. So they shorten up the bullet and add weight in a different way. Up to, what is it, 115 grains or 120 grain is 125 is the maximum that a 9mm will shoot. This bullet that they showed the picture of and showed the bullet in court was a .357 Magnum or a .38. It could not have been fired through my weapon because the bullet itself was as long as the cartridge and the bullet of a 9mm. How is that possible? Well, you could show it to a jury that doesn't know anything about ballistics, and they'll understand it. And since they've been told by the prosecution that they're supposed to look at the evidence in the most favorable light of the prosecution, that's the same as telling them these people are the defendants and they're guilty and they're lying, and whatever I say is true, so you find them guilty. Right.
No, I understand that, and I understand how the FBI crime lab and Dr. Frederick Wrighthurst, he exposed that. But my question to you, okay, so this discussion about the photograph of the bullet that was taken out of Lou Millard and it being larger than a 9mm, which proves that it could not have came from your gun. Is there any way that I could have access to that photo to shut up all these idiots that want to refer to the ballistics reports that was modified after the fact that they had to make it look good for the prosecution? Is that photo still available somewhere?
Well, it should be on the memory stick that you got. If it is not, then I have a phone number of my ex-wife, and you are entitled to call her and ask her about both the photos of the bullet that was taken out of Millard and the bullet that was taken out of Elmer McGinnis.
Okay.
She has both of those photos, and if you can obtain copies of that, you have my blessing, and I would appreciate you sending copies of both of those to Agnes.
Does Agnes have her phone number as well?
I believe so.
Okay.
But let me look here. I've got my phone book out.
Because if I could get a copy of that. A copy of that photo, and it proves that it's it could not have been shot from an Intertech. I think it's an Interdynamic 99 gun, which is what they claim you used. That's like, wow. I mean, how can you argue against that?
Yeah. Just a minute.
Okay.
Just a minute. Okay.
Okay, I will ensure that all of that personal information does not go out publicly.
Yes, if she refuses or anything, or acts reticent against you and says don't call back again or something like that, go ahead and honor her request. That's the best we can do.
Yeah, I understand.
About it one way
I understand.
or another.
Okay.
She's made her bed to lie in it too. She took $40,000 of my money that was in line from my father to get me free and walked away. So
we see, that story that you just said about, family members and friends taking money from prisoners when they get an opportunity. That's very sad, man. I can't even tell you how that affects me that somebody would do that, but that's common. I hear that all the time from many other prisoners that, they were due to get an inheritance or that some money was raised and the friends and the family took the money and because they know the prisoner can't do anything about it.
Well, here's my take on that. Money is like somebody that's out in the desert and dying for water, needing water, and when instead of being in the desert and being without water, if they're in a pool and they have enough water, the overflow is let go. Nobody worries about the overflow of it. And the same thing is true with the money schedule program that I've developed and was given to me back in the day when I was out in the free world about how to change your credit and how to use credit cards to establish an income where money makes money. And you use the bank account and the credit cards and push money into the credit card system and into your bank account in such a way that you have a round-robin carousel type situation where cards pay for the previous month's cards, and you use the interest that the credit card companies would be gathering from you to create money in your bank account. And this is a true and honest and legal way for anyone that has the ability to follow numbers correctly and be timely to make this turn into a multi-million-dollar bank account inside of 5 years. Anybody can do this. And I intend to use it once I get out, to help my people so that they don't have to worry about money anymore. And in the process, be able to have everything back that's ever been taken from us and more. Because you reach a point with anything. When you're satisfied with the amount of stuff that you have, there's an overflow, and the overflow is given to this or given to that or given to the next thing. And sooner or later, everybody that's within the radius of that overflow becomes that type of wealthy too. And if we can do that in the United States to the ones that matter and stuff, the rest will follow. And if we can do it in the United States, we can do it in any other country. And sooner or later, we have a world economy that's based on being able to be friendly towards everybody else, as opposed to being war type towards everybody else. And you have the ability to pay for what you need rather than steal it or take it by force.
Yeah.
And when that is overcome, then there is peace and harmony and prosperity. And that's what I'm looking for worldwide.
Yeah. You know, I've kind of given up to the idea that we're not going to have peace and prosperity until Jesus comes back, but it doesn't mean that we don't try. I believe we should try and try the best the best that we can.
If we can do this before he comes back, then he doesn't have to come back as a warrior. He can come back as the peaceful man that he's always been.
Yeah.
And bless us all.
Yeah.
That's my brother.
Yeah.
That's my brother.
Yeah. You know, the two greatest commandments given by Jesus was to seek the Lord our God with all our heart, mind, soul, understanding, and strength. And he said the second commandment is like unto it, to love our neighbor as ourself. And we don't do that anymore. I mean, everybody just wants to pick on each other, steal from each other, murder each other, imprison each other. It's just insanity. But yeah.
This is the way to overcome that.
Yeah.
Because money is the root of all evil. And the only way to change that is to change what money looks like.
Well, the love of money, yeah, the love of money, right,
yes,
right, yeah, amen.
That's right. There you're at. And in order to do this, we have to develop the way so that everybody has a glut. They've reached a point to where they don't care about the money anymore. What they care about is the people that they're helping.
Yeah.
And when they change the caring about the money to the caring about the people, and the caring about the people is more important than the money, then we have the changeover of that. And then it becomes a situation where, okay, we've done this here, how about let's try this in this country and overcome all the adversity in that country by civil means, by being able to produce enough wealth that everybody has an equal share in it, to the point to where they don't need anything more than what they have.
Yeah.
And it's got to be that way. Eventually it can happen if we have enough people understand this. And there's ones like what they're doing to me right now that don't want to see that, because they want to be part of that group that's on the top of the heap and telling everybody else, you can't have, you can't have, you can't do, you can't do this. They want to be in some kind of authority. And the true authority is this. The strength of a man is measured not by how much he can lift, but the strength of a man is measured when he stands tall. And his tallest is when he bends to one knee and ties a child's shoelace.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. That's powerful. Mr. Hoffman, we're running down to the last minute and a half, and I want to make sure I use it to the best. So, praise,
yes.
Amen. So you, this court thing that's coming up that they filed, is there a date on that? And my question to you, sir, is, do you think there's any chance at all that the prison is going to stop you from calling me? Do you think that's a possibility that could come out of this? And do you think we'll lose communications?
No.
Okay.
No, there's
good.
no way.
Okay.
Because I pay the GTL through Agnes to have phone conversation with whoever.
Okay.
Now, they've got to prove that you and I are conspiring to overthrow the government or create a bomb somewhere and have it explode and take out people.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
As long as we're not doing that, there's nothing that they can do.
Okay.
So,
all right.
And you and I don't do that.
No,
So,
no. I'm
Yes.
I'm an advocate for peaceful protest, and I believe there is
Yes.
corruption in government, but that we should peacefully protest that and use our voices. I would never advocate violence, although
Yeah.
I do believe in self-defense. I believe that a man has a right to defend himself. You know, so
I do too.
yeah, amen.
I do too.
You have
Amen.
30 seconds remaining.
Have a good day.
Okay.
Blessings and more blessings on top of your head.
Thank
and
you,
your family.
thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Peace and blessings to you, and please know that you're in our prayers, and we're looking forward to the day you get out of prison.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good day.
You too. God
Talk
bless.
to you later.
You do. You too. Bye bye.
Bye.